If you're new around here, my name is Jeff. Thanks for walking with me. Hi, Nicole. Every morning I walk over to the coffee shop and we talk about whatever's on my mind. That almost always has to do with growth mindset. And so I shared this mantra again over in my notes here on Substack. You can find not only the mantra that she shared last night, but I was trying to remember it. I left class. I ended up texting her. So what was that mantra again that you shared? And in the meantime, I was Googling and I found a version that was pretty close. And I actually shared both versions of that in my notes because I think they work pretty well together. But either way, they're both about, I'm going to give you Jeff's interpretation. They are both about not being silent, about finding your voice and sharing your authentic voice and actions that honor you. And so my question, the notes, the thing I wanted to talk about today was, what's that have to do with growth? Yesterday morning, I wasn't here yesterday morning because I was headed to do a workshop for an AEC, a construction, really more construction focused organization. And it's the first in a series of workshops about growth. And this one was specifically about communication. And we talked about the need to communicate from authenticity and purpose. Why, right? Beyond the organizational why, beyond the organizational purpose. Why do you do what you do? What is your why? What is your purpose? Where are you in your authenticity? And so when I went to the yoga class last night, and Brandy shared that mantra, it struck me that they're very similar, right? What she shared the mantra about, essentially about speaking up. I'll live with an unsilenced voice, I think is how she said it. I won't be silent. I'll speak. I'll be authentic. It's been a long couple of weeks. I got a car coming behind me. We got in the middle of the road. It's been a long couple of weeks. Last week on Monday, one of the beloved yoga instructors of the place that I go, she passed away after a short 4-month battle with brain cancer. My ex-father-in-law passed away this Monday, and then found out Tuesday morning that one of my graduate students also passed away on Monday. And so it really makes you, well, kind of puts things in perspective, right? But it really makes you think. But where's the blue sky? Hi, Scott. There's we're back to full on winter. Like it's so cold again now that my sinuses froze up. I've got sinus pressure since I left the house because everything's freezing. It's like 11 degrees. But I shared this earlier on Java with Jeff. Scott and Nicole are both regulars on Java with Jeff, which is a show I host every morning in the Entree Architect Network about mindsets that are necessary for growth. But I shared this morning, I don't know, maybe it's not appropriate, but my ex-father-in-law passed away on Monday, and I think we all um, we all know or have known someone like him. His personality was one that, and I think it got worse as he got older. We go into a lot of things, but first, he was one of those people that was going to be the loudest in the room, was always going to be right, was always going to get the last word, was going to talk over you, was going to argue with me. Like right now, Scott, you want to know where the blue sky is? I don't know, it's gray, right? It's got a little bit of snow flurries, it's 11 degrees. I say the sky is gray. He might decide to argue with me and say, well, the sky's blue. That's just the way he was. And I don't know. I've got some guesses as to where that comes from. Why people are like that. But the bottom line is they're not going to allow you to have any power. Right? They're not going to allow you to have any not going to allow you to be right. They're not going to allow you to have any autonomy, any agency. They're for whatever reason, they're out to take it all, right? And I think that's another reason that Brandy's mantra hits so well, because we need to have that agency. We need to have that autonomy to be ourselves, to live our own authentic selves, not because we want to be right. I mean, I don't, if, my opinion was always, if you want to argue about the fact that you think the sky is blue, go for it. But I'm not wasting my breath. Right. But in order for us to really show up as ourselves, to grow, right? We get back to the point, Jeff. In order for us to grow, we have to be able to show up as ourselves in our authenticity, with our own strength and autonomy, agency. And so that idea of I will live with an unsilenced voice, I think is the way Brandy said. I think that's really important. We were talking about that yesterday in the workshop. All these people that were participating, that, the way it was originally framed for yesterday was, well, they may have to go speak to a group, or they may have a conversation in line in a coffee shop, or, whatever the different scenarios are, right, where they would have to share about the organization, about their work, etc. And so we talked about showing up in their own authenticity, having the power to speak about what mattered to them, right, in that particular context. And I think it's so important for us. I mean, we could go through day after day and not take agency, right? Not fight for what matters to us. And that doesn't have to be a literal thing necessarily, but not even just stand up to, hey, this is what I want to do. This is the way I want to do business. This is what I'm interested in. Right? Us putting ourselves first, not diminishing ourselves. Again, putting yourself first doesn't mean being selfish, but it means showing up as you, the real you, at some point, right? And there are a lot of us. I'm learning terms, like people pleasers and things like that. There's some point if we're so concerned about pleasing other people and showing up the way other people want us to show up, etc., that we lose ourselves in that. Good. How are you? Good day to play in the snow, huh? We get so wrapped up in the way other people want us to be. There's no room for us to show up in growth mode. There's no room for us to be ourselves. Right? We have no power at that point, and you can't grow from a point of, I don't know what word I want. Subservience? I don't know. Is that the word I want? Right? You don't have any foundation at that point. And if you're not coming from a point of your own power, put that in quotes. Again, this isn't about fighting. This isn't about violence. This isn't about aggression. This is about agency and autonomy and not getting hit by a car. But if you don't show up from a point of power, you have no foundation for growth. We have to be able to have that solid footing that is us. I've never thought about it that way, but I wonder if you have a fixed mindset, and so now I'm immediately thinking about people that I know, that I have known, the insecurities that you're saying there, Scott. Yeah, that's definitely where that comes from. But I'm thinking about people that I know, and I've shared this before, a number of years ago now. There were a whole group of people in my orbit that were absolutely, the commonality amongst them was fixed mindset. And I think, I'm thinking right now about their attitudes. A lot of those people are from here. They're from right here, this side of town. Scott and Nicole have both been here. They were the people that would complain, oh, this is terrible, and this place and that place, all these things. And they were, it was, not only did they have this fixed mindset where it couldn't be changed, but also they weren't going to work on changing anything. Traffic today. People have just finally woken up from their midwinter's nap. And I think some of that probably came from feeling like they couldn't, like they didn't have any agency to change. Maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, like a catch-22 or something, where they don't think things can change, and they don't think they can do anything about it. And I guess the other part, they weren't willing to do anything about it. They weren't going to get involved. They weren't going to put in any work. But I wonder now, just kind of thinking out loud, it seems like, at least in those kind of cases, that they were coming from the point of view that they didn't have the ability, right? They didn't have the power to change. What's the word I want? Like the frustration, a lot of our frustration and fear comes from our inability to affect our situation or affect whatever it is that we're worried about. No power to, we don't think we have any power to change things or protect ourselves, etc. I think that's where a lot of that comes from. And I wonder if that's not where fixed mindset comes from as well. That people are coming from looking at things through the point of view that, what am I going to do? It is what it is. What am I going to do? Can't do anything about that. This is how much, an XYZ makes, or this is what an XYZ does. Sort of the noun problem. Maybe that's where it comes from. They don't have the foundation of feeling like they have power. So, Brandy's mantra, I will live with an unsilenced voice and actions that matter, I think was the second part of that. Man, that really hit. What am I going to do? How am I going to speak up? How am I going to be me? How am I going to use my voice? And you can take this however you want. Personal growth, relationship growth, professional growth, work in your community, work in some relationship, work wherever, and actions that matter. The second half of that I posted in my notes was the Google version, or the version I found when I Googled. And it talked about, it said actions that honor me, I think. Something like that. Again, back to authenticity. What am I saying? What am I doing? How am I acting? How am I showing up in a way that supports me? Supports me first. You have to grow. You have to grow before anything else. You have to be able to share your voice. You have to take the actions that matter to you, that support you. Again, not to be selfish. We see plenty of that. It's, I can't even start on that. I'll lose my mind, but we see plenty of people that are acting selfishly. And arguably, right, it's for their own good. It's for, well, Jeff, they're doing this for their own growth, for their own enrichment, or whatever. Yeah, okay. I don't have the bandwidth right now to try to break that down. To be honest, only to say right now that that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about rich, powerful assholes that are trying to keep everybody else down. That's not it at all. It's my summary for the day. That's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about using your voice for something that matters to you, using your actions for something that matters to you. And it may be saying, hey, you know what I need is quiet. What I need is peace. I'm going to get up 5 minutes early in the morning. I'm going to pray. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do whatever it is that I do. I'm going to start a yoga practice. I'm going to start writing, journaling, sketching. Something smells good. Cooking breakfast. I don't know. It may be as simple as that. Walk in the coffee shop. Maybe it's that. And by the way, we've made it. We have made it to the coffee shop. Almost. At least we're across the street. So, I don't know what these people are doing. I'm just going to walk out in the middle of the street. Thanks for walking with me. They're smoking pot. Random thoughts. Yeah, deep thoughts by, who's it? Jack Handy? Random thoughts by Jeff. All right, I'm going to go in the coffee shop. I'm going to warm up. I'm going to get a double macchiato. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for walking with me.